Hello, my name is Solvej Todd, and I'm going to be reading an extract from Danish author Morten Dürr's young children's novel called My Robot Brother in English, in Danish, Robotten skide. It's for 8 to 12-year-olds. Rights are sold in Portugal and Turkey, and there's currently a live action feature film being made and will be out in theaters in 2022. So here we go. I could hear them talking in the office. I crouched down and stared through the keyhole. The punishment for spying on the headmaster would be severe, but I was curious. The couple must have wanted to adopt the child, otherwise they wouldn't be here. Maybe, if I listened in, I could find out what kind of boy they were looking for. Maybe I was that kind of boy. The headmaster stood in front of his desk, speaking in that deep, thunderous voice of his, which I knew all too well. Then he said, "All of our boys are well behaved, healthy, happy, and..." Another voice swiftly interrupted him. It was the man who said, "Yeah, but just how well behaved? Our Eric here does exactly what we tell him, no more or less." The headmaster laughed dryly. "Well, real boys also do what you tell them to. Sometimes they do a little more than that, right? That's what makes them human. That's what makes people interesting. They're unpredictable." "But are they smart?" the man wanted to know. "Yes, of course," the headmaster replied. "They do well at school. They're both attentive and smart." "No doubt," the man interrupted. "But how smart? Our Eric here knows everything, and I mean everything." The headmaster answered, "Well, our boys naturally can't answer everything on the spot, like a robot that's connected to the internet, with the correct response every single time, but our boys are creative, and they have feelings." The woman cut in. "Do they get sad? I mean, do they cry? I think it's really touching when kids cry." "Yeah, but sometimes they cry too much, dear," the man added. "Sometimes human kids start screaming. They're worse than car alarms. I can't stand it." "But it's so cute when they cry, when you get to comfort them," the woman said, softly, and then sounding slightly bitter, muttered, "Eric can't cry." "Eric wasn't built to cry," the man said priggishly. "Doesn't have tear ducts. But he can sound like he's crying. Isn't that close enough, dear?" "Well, no," the woman sighed. "Doesn't sound real. Sounds more like he's got something stuck in his throat." The headmaster interrupted. "I mean, the boys usually don't cry unless something really sad happens." "What do these boys cost anyway?" asked the man. "Cost?" The question caught the headmaster off guard, and he raised his eyebrows in surprise. "They don't cost anything." "They don't cost anything," repeated the man. Then, suddenly suspicious, he added, "Everything's got a price, right?" The woman butted in as well. "Free kids? I don't think that's for us. Haven't you heard the expression, 'You get what you pay for'?" "Exactly," said the man. "No cash, no quality." "But I can assure you our boys..." The headmaster went blank. He raised a finger. "Wait a second, I'll show you." Then he spun around and started to walk, his big, heavy footsteps headed for the door and me. Fast as lightning, I stood up and stepped back. I tried to look like someone who couldn't possibly have been listening in on the conversation. The door flew open and the headmaster popped his head out. He nodded at me and said, "Hey you, come here for a second." I secretly jumped for joy. This was my chance, my big, huge, mega chance. I was going to be introduced to the grown-ups who wanted to adopt a child. Rich grown-ups with a cool house, and I was going to be that child. I stepped into the office. Should I shake their hand? I decided not to. The man and the woman gave me a cold stare. I smiled faintly, but they didn't react. The headmaster put a hand on my shoulder. "So this is one of our boys. His name is..." "Conrad," I added before it got awkward. "Yes, exactly, Conrad. Conrad. He's one of our best students." I felt a huge knot in my stomach. Calling me one of the best students was a bit of an exaggeration, to say the least, but I was smart enough not to argue, not here in front of the man and the woman. "One of the best, huh?" The man looked skeptical. "If he's so great, what can he do exactly?" "So many things, good, fine things," said the headmaster without blinking an eye. "He can read, write. He's really good at soccer." The headmaster genuinely looked proud. "Can he juggle?" the woman suddenly asked. What, juggle?" The headmaster looked at her like he wasn't sure he'd heard right. "Yeah, it's fun to see someone juggle," said the woman. Her eyes darted around the room. Then she spied the fruit bowl on the headmaster's table. "Yes," she said, and looked at me with renewed interest. "Let's see him juggle. He can use the apples." She pointed at the apples in the bowl. "What a great idea, darling," the man grunted. I just stood there. Was she serious? This was ridiculous. The headmaster glared at me and jerked his head in the direction of the fruit bowl. It was a look that said, "What are you waiting for?"